I will call this the yes, but response. Now, in college, completely isolated from medicine, you can think straight. And not that I'm better at that, but I needed the isolation. I don't need people telling me you can't do that, or you don't know what you're talking about, and you're wrong. And so the entire yes, but response. So my friend's an electrical engineer and also figured out that the eye is a control system and helped his own children to a certain extent with prevention. So in order to avoid conflict with medical people who can't help you anyway and won't, basically, that's where the concept of the meta-eye, the meta-dynamic eye, and that's totally separated from any medical consideration. Nothing medical at all at that. It's to isolate the absolutely normal eye at birth to determine whether this meta-eye either is a control system or not a control system. There's nothing in medicine that said it has to be one way or the other, except they want to believe that all eyes are defective at birth because they have a refractive state no one likes. So that's bias. And so I won't argue about it because it's a waste of time. And so you wind up with my friend and the yes, but, which I totally respect, because he knows the public's ignorant anyway, and you can't help the public anyway, because they're beyond help, and they wouldn't do the right thing anyway if you told them the reason, the logic as to why you have to start prevention while you still have 20/20. So that's yes, but. And it was only after I talked with Rafelson for 3 or 4 hours and read his books that I realized that the correct answer, if you're an electrical engineer, is yes, but. Yes, you're right. Evolution designed a sophisticated control system in the primate eyes that, in fact, does control its refractive state continuously to the average of accommodation. The equation is straightforward and very accurate. But then you have yes, but. And the yes, but is Jacob Rafelson, who intuitively understood the concept. But of course, he's practicing optometry on the public, which is abysmally ignorant of science completely. So that's how I moderate my discussion with optometrists. I just should say, yes, but. And the yes, but is the public will not accept prevention when they have 20/20, which is the only time and place where prevention could be effective. So now you're completely dependent on the ignorance of the person to solve a problem, which is a guaranteed failure. Even Jacob Rafelson, Steiner, is no help because he just throws out, oh, do active focus and you'll snap yourself right out of 4 or 5 diopters of myopia. Sounds great. This way he doesn't have to do a yes, but. So I don't make judgments here. I was glad that my friend helped his own kid with prevention while the child still had 20/20. And what happened after that, I do not know. I just don't bother with it. Presumably, his kids still have 20/20 since they knew to use the plus while they still had 20/20. In fact, you could teach us an engineer to do exactly what I'm doing, which is make sure you're still reading 20/20 and you measure your refractive state as positive, as I do. I can read the 20/20 line through A+ half diopter lens. Nothing I'm doing is medicine, absolutely nothing. Once I got the 20/20, I'm not practicing medicine on myself because I have 20/20, and it's my choice. So this is why you won't see me arguing with Rupa Wong or the entire profession of optometry, because they're dealing with profoundly ignorant people who wouldn't do anything anyway if you told them scientific truth, because there's an abstraction that they're never going to understand. Just never going to understand. So that's why some very brilliant people won't do anything, and they won't say anything, because ignorance is preferable to knowledge. If you have to go through a yes but type of scenario. And this is also why I measure refractive state myself, because I could do it, certainly know how to do it as an engineer. And if there are any risks involved in keeping my refractive state positive in 20/20, there are risks that I'm taking. If anything happens, it's my fault. Of course, my first nearsightedness was my fault too. I just didn't know about prevention when I had to do it when I was at 20/40. So let's try and keep this thing down to intelligent visualization of the eyes as a control system while the refractive state's still positive. You go through primate data, and to the extent there is science, the eye is a control system. Beyond that, I'm not going to argue about it, because there's no point, because you're not going to do anything. Only Rupa Wong does the right thing for her kids. Can't do it for you, though. And Todd Becker, as an engineer, he did the research. If you watch our presentation, he goes to the history of it, and knows what he's doing, that's the history of it. A negative refractive state is always self-induced by the child's unfortunate habit. And prevention, there's only one issue that I'd pick, is he calls it a disease. It's a negative refractive state of the completely normal eye in an engineering context. And it suggests that it's possible to get out of a lot of it. It's not. It really is not. 20/40 or 20/50, if you know what you're doing, perhaps. And again, if you're an engineer, then people ask, as soon as they hear plus, what immediately pops in their mind is, say, when can I stop wearing the plus? And all I can say is, I've been wearing a plus for 15 years. Do I ask, when can I stop wearing the plus? There's no answer. I don't have any answer. If you're an engineer, you'd understand the eye, the meta-dynamic eye concept, and the primate data. There's a high correspondence, providing you have that understanding. If you don't, then no amount of experimental data will mean anything to you at all, period. And that's the yes, but issue. And that was my thoughts about Rafelson. He was talking prevention and the plus and the public. And nice try, but you can't talk to the public about any of this. Particularly if you're optometrist, you can't talk about any of it, because it will not work. The ignorance of the public is such that they only understand a minus, extremely sharp vision, and that's the end of the story, and has been that way for the past 120 years. So don't ask for help from anyone, because you're not going to get any help. That's the way it is. Add your own commentary. Thank you.